tonight.
Well, it's really quite disturbing.
Overcrowding issues persist at Saskatoon's biggest hospital. We hear the problems and what the health authority is planning to do about it. Also, the province is stepping in with emergency funding to help the struggling Regina Symphony Orchestra. Plus, something to buzz about: the growth of the honey industry in Alberta.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Thursday, February 15th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thanks for watching. Nurses say Saskatoon's biggest hospital is struggling to cope with record overcrowding, and they say more needs to be done to fix the problem. Jason Warwick explains.
Well, it's really quite disturbing. I mean, our members are trying to do the best they can, and I think
Saskatchewan Union of Nurses President Tracy Zambori says that the emergency room at Saskatoon's Royal University Hospital here is maxed out. She says that as of last night, there were a total of 80 patients waiting to be transferred to other units, but they couldn't because there was no room for them. They couldn't be moved to a bed because the wards were all full. That included 4 mental health patients waiting in hallway beds for a total of more than 120 hours. She says that's unacceptable.
This seems to be becoming the norm, and it shouldn't, because it's very dangerous. It's inhumane to think that certified mental health patients, people who are very sick, are being left to languish and become sicker in the hallways.
According to the Saskatchewan Health Authority's website, every unit inside RUH was full. Some areas, seen here in red, were well over capacity, from neuroscience to mental health to surgery. Zambori says the Saskatchewan Health Authority promised to solve this problem when concerns were raised back in November, but she says it hasn't helped.
It has not worked out. It has not translated one little bit to the front lines, and now we have people suffering even more. I can't imagine being the patient or the family member of people that have been waiting.
Health Authority officials hosted a virtual news conference this afternoon to discuss their plan.
We really acknowledge and understand the impact of overcapacity challenges on our staff, on our point of care teams. We also understand that it has an impact on patients, and it's very important for us to be able to deliver quality, safe care in the right environment to the residents of Saskatchewan. We're taking that very seriously.
Health Authority officials agree this is a difficult environment for patients and staff, but they're hopeful that their updated action plan will work. Jason Warwick, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The Saskatoon Tribal Council's shelter in Fairhaven is once again under the microscope. Local pastor and Ward 3 Council candidate Robert Pierce wants the shelter defunded. Pierce wrote an open letter about the situation, and he posted it to social media, along with a message describing what he calls a harrowing experience. He says someone tried to jump him and get inside the church, which is located near the shelter.
I don't know that it's directly related to the shelter, to be honest, and I don't think I've never stated that I believe it's directly related. What I do know is since the shelter opened, man, our crime rate's gone through the roof.
I'm calling this out as racism, and I'm tired of the accusations, because this racism and this colonial mentality has to stop.
Arcan says the letter is an attack and that criticizing the shelter is unfair. He says since the STC stopped allowing people with complex needs into the shelter back in October, violence and incidents have gone down. Regina School of Journalism is opening its doors again after a year-long pause. The U of R says the program has been revamped and isn't limited to journalism. Instead, it's offering a Bachelor of Arts degree in journalism, news media, and communications. The news industry has seen a lot of job cuts over the years. The Dean of Arts says adding more skills should help students be better prepared for their options.
We think that flexibility actually serves our graduates for the entire trajectory of their careers. As you know, the world of news media is a pretty tumultuous place right now. Lots of folks are making career changes. Giving students a more versatile set of skills makes them kind of future-proof as the job market changes.
I'm not going to shy away from journalism jobs, but I just know they're sometimes hard to find. Throughout our whole time here at the school, we've always heard news about cuts and stuff. So I'm really open to anything, but I certainly, just looking for whatever. Yeah.
The journalism school has seen a steady decline in numbers over the last decade, falling to single digits some years. The school's director tells CBC he's hopeful the revamp will bring in more students, but at the same time, people in the news industry know it can be tough. The newspaper Eagle Feather News is the latest to face struggles, now on hiatus.
I'm not willing to just lay down and let it go. However, with the introduction of the Online News Act, we've seen a steady but consistent decline of our revenue. And although we produce 10,000 copies of newspapers that we distribute to all First Nations in the province free of charge, as well as to a number of organizations. And to be able to do that, we need advertising revenue, because that pays for our writers, that pays for our printing costs, pays for our shipping costs, which are the highest expenses that we have. And so we depend on ad revenue, ad sales to cover those costs. And up until June, we were fine. You know, we had a steady flow. There was people steadily buying ads and stuff like that. But I found that once that Online News Act came into play and we weren't able to share our news, you know, there wasn't that conversation happening about Eagle Feather anymore because our news wasn't circulating. Out of sight, out of mind. So I think people just forgot, you know, to support us. We reached it. We couldn't produce a January paper. We had the content, but we couldn't cover the shipping costs. We can't do that with maybe 6 ads sold, you know, and we need at least 1 ad per page to produce a monthly paper. And so we had to make the decision to take a brief hiatus, hopefully brief. I'm hoping that, you know, people will begin to see how valuable we actually are. You know, I think Eagle Feather has a really important role to play within the community, not only just by telling stories, but helping develop young writers. You know, people who want to come in. We had the U of R J School. We had interns. We have interns from First Nations University, and they come in and they learn how to tell Indigenous stories through an Indigenous lens. And it was really great being able to offer that mentorship opportunity for them, because with the way things are, there's such a limited space for writers. I got my start at Eagle Feather, so I feel very personally invested in making sure that it continues for maybe for another 27 years. How it is going to look in 27 years, I don't know, but I do know we need it. There's a lot of pressure, and I think with the recent announcements, like with CBC, with CTV, these massive job cuts that are happening, I know that I have to keep going, because the future right now doesn't look very positive for any news outlet, and I'm not willing to just lay down and let it go. It may take some time, but we're not gonna shutter our doors, not yet.
The Regina Symphony Orchestra has been in a financial rut since the pandemic, but now the province is stepping in to help with a one-time cash injection. The government's giving the RSO $200,000. It's been struggling to stay afloat with smaller crowds and fewer ticket sales. The money will help stabilize the organization, which plays a role in Regina's arts and culture community. Many orchestra members also teach music at schools, so if members were to leave the city, the RSO chair says music programs would suffer.
I think it's a critical part of the cultural infrastructure of towns and cities like ours. I think a lot of people take these things for granted, but it is part of the furniture, and it'll be missed when it's gone. Is the issue.
Staff say they would have gone under next month if the government didn't help. The money is a part of the province's $30 million yearly budget to support arts and culture. A little bit of cloud out there today, but mostly it was bright and clear, and it was cold compared to what we've gotten used to. But it looks like that temperature drop is on its way out, and warmer weather will roll in for the weekend. Ethan will have more in his forecast after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. When you think of Alberta, you might think of cattle and oil, but another industry may belong on that list, one with a less rugged image than a ranch or a rig. Nicholas Frew reports.
It's nice to see that. I just put a smile on my face to see the bees flying around today.
Richard Ozero is one of the hundreds of beekeepers in Alberta, helping the local honey industry blossom. He and his wife Amber built careers in the news business before buying a farm in Parkland County. Today, the couple tends to 4,000 colonies, and their honey is shipped across the continent and overseas.
Alberta honey can make its way all around the world, like all kinds of places. It's nice to see, because we do have a really sought-after product, well known for its high quality, its color, how light it is, and the taste and everything.
While the honey industry has not grown to the same scale as wheat or cattle, the federal government estimates honeybees contribute billions to Canada's agriculture sector through pollination.
That connection is huge of the economic importance of honeybees in the country, responsible for pollination for about 21 other crops, depend 100% on honeybees.
Data shows that Alberta is home to the most honeybee colonies in Canada, producing about 40% of the country's honey last year. In 2023, Alberta set a record for honey value, earning more than $105 million. But beekeeping wasn't always the bustling industry it is today in Alberta.
And I think there was a lot of beekeeping operations in the east who were finding themselves a little crowded geographically and realized that there was a lot of territory out in the prairies.
Once established, apiculture grew quickly here, with the number of beekeepers peaking at 11,000 at the end of the Second World War. And interest in beekeeping in Alberta appears to be on the rise once more. The number of beekeepers has steadily increased since 2008. As for those thinking of starting out, experts say it's crucial that each apiculturist educate themselves thoroughly and find a local mentor who can teach them how to care for bees in Alberta's climate. Nicholas Frew, CBC News, Edmonton.
Grape growers in BC's Okanagan Valley are bracing for the worst after a severe cold snap in January. As Brady Strachan reports, the damage and the loss could be devastating.
You can see the cracking.
The prognosis is grim. Severe winter damage in vineyards across the Okanagan. Gordon Fitzpatrick's vines at his winery near Summerland were not spared.
And taking this wood and spur pruning that, and then so we're kind of hedging our bets, right? And see what pushes.
An extreme cold snap in January is the culprit. Temperatures dropped below -25 degrees right across the Okanagan and killed off many of the buds that would have been this year's wine grape crop.
Damage is substantial, greater than 90%. So both the primary and secondary buds, most of them are dead, they're discolored, and so that has everybody worried about what's going to happen in the spring and how many tons are we going to have in the vineyards up and down the Okanagan Valley.
The low temperature, and you can see it got down to -30, but more.
A new report by the BC wine industry predicts catastrophic crop loss this year across the valley, with only 3% of a normal harvest. This on the heels of last year's severe season that saw only half the expected harvest.
Well, back-to-back and consecutively like that is the perfect storm. So it's worrisome. I think it just speaks to the challenges of climate change.
And with little or no grapes expected this year, the industry is projecting substantial losses across the board.
Yeah, well, without that crop, it looks as though it could be up to almost $500 million. And so that's just the impact of wages and, again, tourism. And tourism means hotel stays and restaurants.
The province has already invested millions of dollars in a replant program for grape growers. Some in the industry are asking for help in the short term.
Wineries are going to be running out of wine. So there's been some discussions about, well, can we, on an emergency basis, outsource from other regions such as Ontario or Washington State, Oregon.
That is something not currently allowed for wines carrying the VQA designation and would require governments to make significant regulatory changes. Brady Strachan, CBC News, Summerland.
This weather update is brought to you by Crestview Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, proud member of the Capital Automotive Group.
And our weather specialist Ethan Williams joins me now. A colder day out there today.
Yeah, you know, you heard Brady talking there about temperatures in the Okanagan dropping down to that minus 25 degree range or so, and that killed off the crops. That's about what we saw in Saskatchewan overnight. We're taking a look outside right now out of our sky cam out of Regina, and you know, temperatures actually throughout a lot of south and central Saskatchewan dropped to around that minus 25 degree mark overnight last night, and that is actually the coldest that we have seen in places like Regina and Yorkton and Saskatoon since about around January 18th. It's the last time we were colder than that through that part of the province in Prince Albert. I think it was around January 16th was the last time that we saw temperatures colder than what we saw last night. Right now, we're seeing temperatures, current conditions across the province sitting into the minus 20s with a little bit of wind factored into that. We're around minus 30 at the moment here. I think we're having a little technical issue with our boards here. We're taking a look at this gorgeous shot over Regina at the moment here. But you know what? I tell you what, I think we're going to take a quick break here as we figure out what is going on. And hopefully we will have that figured out for you. Just like that. Wow, amazing. Snap to it, and we've got it right there. Here's what I was talking about, by the way, those temperatures. This is the last time that we were colder than the temperatures that we saw this morning throughout south and central Saskatchewan. Those are the temperatures on the left there. Here are your current conditions through the province. Temperatures around, minus 10 to minus 15 in south and central Saskatchewan. Again, it's been about the same amount of time since we have seen temperatures not get above minus 10 for a daytime high throughout many regions, including both Regina and Saskatoon. A little bit windy today in portions of eastern Saskatchewan. We saw gusts up to around 40 kilometers an hour. There you go. Factor in a little bit of wind. Yeah, it's feeling more like minus 30, and it will likely feel into the minus 30s again tonight for a lot of the province. Those winds picking up tomorrow from the west and southwest. Could be at times tomorrow and Saturday, gusting as high as 50 to 60 kilometers an hour here and there. But our sky conditions, well, not much to talk about here because we clear out tomorrow and into Saturday. Sunday morning is when we see a little bit of increasing cloudiness through portions of the province, but that should also be clearing out as well. So the extended forecast for Regina shows around minus 9 tomorrow. We're starting that warm up slowly. West winds around 50 kilometers an hour. Then that sharp warm-up Saturday, still gusty at times, full sunshine for Sunday, and we stay above average as we head into next week. That warm El Nino pattern continues along. For Saskatoon, we're looking for a high of minus 7. Gusty conditions again, not quite as breezy though as we're seeing in the southern part of the province. Things staying pretty much average for Sunday, Monday, and then as we get into Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, temperatures staying around minus 3. Those overnight lows dropping to minus double digits, Sam, but nothing like we've seen last night, which is not too bad.
It looks like we're in for a really nice long weekend.
Yeah, weekend is going to be beautiful if you want to get out, and the kids off school next week too, so it'll be great.
All right, thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
Huh. Well, pandas have long been the face of conversation, but there's new creatures that seem to be mimicking their iconic look. Meet the less cute, more creepy looking skeleton panda sea squirt. It's a newly classified species first discovered a few years ago near a Japanese island. They're little, about 2 centimeters big, and the white parts, those are their blood vessels. We'll be back after the break. A grieving mother of a teenager killed in Manitoba on the weekend is speaking out. She believes child welfare authorities ignored her concerns about safety. She told her story to Karen Pauls.
I should have fought harder. I'm so sorry.
A mother's pain. The loss of her firstborn daughter in horrible circumstances, made worse because Juliet Hastings says it all could have been prevented.
Something dark was just festering, and I just didn't want my daughter to be caught in the crossfire.
Maya's body was found Sunday in a home in a small rural Manitoba community. She lived there with her foster cousin, 30-year-old Amanda Clearwater, who was found dead in a ditch earlier that morning. The bodies of Clearwater's 3 children were pulled from a burning car not long after. Clearwater's partner, Ryan Manokisic, accused of killing them.
Hastings said Maya moved in with Clearwater and Manokisic after an argument last spring. Hastings grew up with Clearwater, but she was worried about Manokisic, who is on bail and on court-ordered treatment for mental health and addictions.
They didn't do any safety checks. They didn't do any criminal record checks. The system didn't work at all. They didn't do their job.
Winnipeg Child and Family Services wouldn't comment, deferring questions to the provincial government. The Premier says he can't comment on specific cases.
But we also have a responsibility as government when terrible things like this happen in our province to ask the question, what went wrong? And more importantly, how are we going to fix it? How are we going to protect children, protect women, protect young people?
Hi, my name is Maya and this is my story.
Hastings says she's just trying to remember Maya as her bubbly, happy girl who had a strong faith and loved her family.
I've noticed I'm getting along with my family a lot better than before.
She cherishes a text from Maya the day she was killed.
How much she loves me and how much she is sorry that she didn't show her appreciation before for me.
Opportunities now lost forever.
But I just want to see my baby. I want to hold her.
Karen Pauls, CBC News, Winnipeg.
And Ethan's back with one last look at your weather.
Yeah, a bit of a chilly night again in Regina, minus 17 at midnight. Keep in mind a little bit of wind. Going to make that feel closer to around minus 25, minus 30 at times. And still another chilly morning tomorrow before we get back to that warmer weather. Mix of sun and cloud. Again, temperature around minus 19. And then into the afternoon, minus 12. That is close to our daytime high. We'll see mostly sunny skies as well. For Saskatoon, again, similar story here. Mostly clear night. Talking about temperatures around minus 20. And then heading into the morning, not much of a change in our sky conditions. Around minus 18. Close to minus 30 with a little bit of a wind chill and mostly sunny skies by the afternoon, sitting around minus 10. Before that warmer weather comes as we head toward the weekend, Sam.
I can't wait for the warm weather.
Yeah, it's going to come soon.
Thank you.
You bet.
Before we go, a Saskatoon teen has made history in Japan at the World Junior Speed Skating Championships. That is 18-year-old Luca Wieman and his squad gliding over the finish line for Team Canada. They wore the men's long track team pursuit for the first time ever. They won it, rather. Norway came in a close second. Japan came third. Wieman's already back in Canada with his gold medal. He says winning and seeing Canada on top of the leaderboard was an amazing moment. He's now focused on competing in the 2026 Winter Olympics in Italy. And that is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/sask or /Saskatoon. You can subscribe to CBC Saskatchewan's YouTube channel, or you can download the CBC News app on your phone or tablet. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.